What I'm excited about is the freedom that entrepreneurship gives you, right? It's a very risky and dangerous thing to do, but the ability to be able to shape the world the way you see it is what excites me the most.
Some will tell you it is not possible. Some will tell you it is not of this time. And it means that you really need to have that strength to say, this is what I want. You need to be able to see far more than what other people can see. And that can actually be able to help you. And important to have the right people around you, because a number of times when you don't have the right people around you, it will not work.
Emerging technology is allowing Africa to leapfrog maybe what has happened in other parts of the world. Emerging technologies are supporting Africa to create unique solutions for its own unique problems.
Building an online school in Africa is literally a blue ocean where you're competing against an already set institution and a way of thinking and a way of doing things. So it's pretty exciting to disrupt a space like that by providing more affordable, more convenient, better quality, more personalized learning for children.
My name is Josiah Asen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of iSpace, an innovation hub based in Accra. And what inspires me about the people that I work with is just the youth, very innovative and creative, and always willing to be pushed to the next limit, and always available to learn and learn and learn. And I think that's what inspires me the most. So the elevator pitch for my company is iSpace is an environment where entrepreneurs can flourish and get all the support that they need. What I'm excited about is the freedom that entrepreneurship gives you, right? It's a very risky and dangerous thing to do, but the ability to be able to shape the world the way you see it is what excites me the most. Why does Ghana need iSpace? I mean, that's a double-loaded question, right? But I think it takes us back all the way to when you think about the Industrial Revolution, where when you look at the way America started with a bunch of entrepreneurs who really didn't have the resources and the schooling that we have, right? But right now, the Ghana or Africa generally is moving in that direction. And then you have innovation hubs, iSpace and others that are kind of supporting entrepreneurs. That's why they need, because then we eliminate the mistakes of the past and we make them successful as quickly as possible. So I think that's why they need us.
My name is Arkisha Misauthor. I work in development and evaluations with iSpace Foundation. The majority of my work is on projects and programs. I think that the work that we do is really impactful. So a lot of people, they see the work is centered on Accra, but the majority of it goes across Africa. And so there's work that's with other organizations and startups in Ghana, especially across the northern and then western belts. But then there's also mentorship and coaching that's done along with investment preparation for different companies and associations across Africa. So I think that the work is really impactful. It really focuses on inclusion of women and people with disabilities. And then that's something that you just don't see in the space because it's more of a collaborative approach instead of things that are singular and then focused on what the company can do. So there's a lot of collaboration with other organizations that are basically in parallel industries, and then that could be classified as competitors.
Considering big tech's influence in Ghana, in 10 years, I think if we harness that opportunity very well, Ghana will fly, right? Because when you look at our education system, even our political system, we seem to be stable, whatever that stable is. And I think is allowing the likes of the big tech companies to then look at Ghana as an attractive space to be in. And we need to take advantage of that. But what we need to do is we're not looking at it from an external point of view. It comes and plugs itself in. It has to integrate into our ecosystem and cut across, right? So from our education system, if you're going to teach AI, are you going to teach it from the grassroots, or are you teaching it from the top level? And if you teach it from the top level, then we're going to miss that train. We need to integrate it and then work into our culture bit by bit, right? And I think that is what we need to do. So if we want to see ourselves in the next 10 years, we need to kind of rein that in and integrate it in a very good way. iSpace has benefited from the big tech companies, particularly Google, because we started with Google, right? They were one of the first partners, and it allowed us to gain a lot of resources and local, recognition. Is also the global side of things, and a lot of the programs that we run for, like training developers, for example, we were one of the first organizations to do that, and it was because of our affiliation with Google and helping set up the Google developer communities in Ghana and all of those other things. So in essence, they helped us build capacity, right? So you've seen a lot of developers now. It's a product of what the likes of Google has done. And then when you look at the Meta companies and Microsoft, again, we've done programs with them, little hackathons and here. And in a way, they don't exist anymore, but they need to be mentioned, like BlackBerry. They were one of the first companies that funded a hackathon that we did, right? And out of that, we were able to get 2 startups that are now doing amazing work. And so, yeah, we've seen, the results of that in that respect. So the resources that you get from some of these big tech companies ranges, right? So you get some of them that will fund you, openly run programs, so sponsor a lot of the hackathons that we run. And then you've got the ones that will give you like cloud credits. So Amazon does that. And that is one of the most amazing thing that you can get, right? So depending on the technology that you are working on, you can get cloud credits that can be like $250,000, right? Because when you break it down, one email for you is about $6. So if you're trying to build a recognized company, you need an official email. You're not going to use Gmail. And then, so imagine if you're paying $6 and you have, let's say, 100 people working for you every single month, and the dollar against your currency fluctuates, right? So it's a problem. So now if your company is giving you that for free, and then helping you develop your brand in that respect, that also helps. Then you look at Google giving you credits for ads and Facebook ads and all of these other things. So those resources, in the fact that they're not monetary, you don't physically touch the cash. If you're smart about it, you can then see what you benefited from that. And then, them also kind of running programs that they sponsor entrepreneurs. So Google is doing one called the Black Founders Fund, where they're looking at after entrepreneurs and funding them. They actually giving money as well. So not only are they giving you technical support, they're not giving you crowd credits and everything else, but they're also giving you finance. So that's the kind of resources that they're giving us in that respect. Our business model changed mainly because of the way the big techs are moving, right? Because they move from one technology and develop another too. So it's almost like we have to be fluid in the way in which we work. But at the core, thinking about it, it doesn't change because we're still training people, we're still building capacity. The only difference is you always have to step your game up. But when it comes to charging people, we're not able to do that because the kind of capacity they require at the top end, we can't charge people like, let's say $5,000 to train you, right? And I think that is the negative side of the big techs that we have at the moment. Because again, the level of expertise that they require for you to even go into AI at the higher end, we don't have that expertise here. So if you want to then shift your business model, you then have to bring in experts and you can't afford it. But I think at the bottom end, it hasn't really changed it. It has actually harnessed it and made it much better for us to operate because now we have a clear direction on what it is that we need to do. So not only are you training people from HTML side, you're also thinking about higher level language for them to be able to engage. So if you do it well, you can make money out of it. So in a good way, yes, it has. With large tech companies investing in an African tech scene, there is a bit of a double-edged sword to that, right? Because now there's almost like they're picking winners, right? And the winners that they're picking are usually founders that look like them. I understand from a business perspective, right? Because naturally, it's almost like football. If I buy a player for 100 million, I'm not waiting for a year for you to integrate into the league. I literally want to put you on the field tomorrow, you're scoring goals, right? So I understand why they do what they do. But then the byproduct of it is the local tech companies cannot compete. So where you have a situation where a local developer, right, is saying, oh, I could do remote work, so you need to pay me $5,000 a month, right? A local software company cannot afford $5,000 a month. So then we are losing that talent too, the big tech companies in that space. But is it their fault? No. We need to look at ways to equalize that. So we need to look at policies that says that if a big tech company comes to Africa, for example, they need to build capacity or partner with local companies. See, so in respect, rather than poach my people, we can partner. So if you want to build a product, this is the company that builds it for you, right? See, so they can come in, but we need to negate their entry to ensure that we work in partnership. Otherwise, it's just going to be a free-for-all. And we don't really want that. We don't want that brain drain. Again, people, because now it's remote, right? People just do remote work. If you can't afford me, I'm not working for you. And it looks negative, but in reality, it shouldn't be. It should be a great opportunity, but how we approach that opportunity is the conversation. How successful can a company be today without the support of big tech? It's impossible. Right? Because they control a lot of the APIs, they control our payment integrations, they control even them us being able to buy a common domain, right? See, so you cannot survive without them. And is that a good thing? No. Is that a bad thing? No. It's just business. It's how do we balance that? And, look at the play on monopoly. Right? Because big tech now has moved on. It's more about data. So they've placed it in a way that if you're new coming in, you have to plug into our system. And I mean, it's only right because they've invested in the infrastructure. So it's only right for them to benefit from them. So yeah, you're not going to survive without them. Is there a downside to big tech in Africa? Yes, because then if we do not, I would say policy ring fence it, it will become a monopoly, right? See, so I can do what I want. I have the money and do anything, right? And I think that's the downside. But I think right now, so for example, people are talking about AI policy, right? And I'm involved in some of the AI, committee, and I asked this question. When we talk about AI regulation, are we regulating for companies that come in, or are we regulating for companies in the country? You can't regulate for companies in the country because we haven't even thought about what to do with AI just yet. See, so you need to regulate for companies that come in inside. So I think that is the way to approach it. Regulation to ensure that we ring fence a lot of their behavior, so to speak. Has our financial opportunities changed due to the interest that big tech companies have shown in Africa or in Ghana generally? Yeah, because now I'm not only training entrepreneurs or developers for local companies, I'm also thinking, wait, if I train them on the big languages like Python and all of these other things, I can actually quote unquote remote work them to other organizations externally. And you've got the big tech companies are now paying local companies to train people on their behalf, not only from just a developer point of view, but product management, product design, so many things that goes into running big tech. So yeah, the opportunity is there, and they're willing to also invest in organizations such as what we have. And some of them have gone to the level of actually investing in innovation hubs specifically to create the talent that they're looking for. So the opportunity is immense. An African company needs to think global, right? Because, so we say you act locally, but you need to think globally, right? Because again, the product that you're creating is a software. Anybody can use it anywhere. And they can access it anywhere. So if it's an e-commerce website, and again, you need to think on a global basis, right? And if you don't, you're gonna die. So you have to literally think on the global, because now you have diasporans that are interested in sourcing locally made products. So as a company, you have to think globally, but you act in a local manner. Because when you look at the likes of, for example, Bolt, for example, all the way from Estonia, but it's in Ghana. They thought global, but they acted locally, and then now they're in global markets. So we can think exactly the same way.
Some will tell you it is not possible. Some will tell you it is not of this time. And it means that you really need to have that strength to say, this is what I want. You need to be able to see far more than what other people can see. And that can actually be able to help you. And important to have the right people around you, because a number of times when you don't have the right people around you, it will not work.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
I'm the CEO and founder of Kidato. We're building an online K-12 school in Africa, and quite a number of other offerings on top of that, which is open learning for adults, after school for kids, on-demand tuition, and online clubs for kids in Africa. Building an online school in Africa is literally a blue ocean where you're competing against an already set institution and a way of thinking and a way of doing things. So it's pretty exciting to disrupt a space like that by providing more affordable, more convenient, better quality, more personalized learning for children. And especially in Africa, being in the emerging markets. I was solving my own problem. I saw my children and what they were going through in a private school. First, it was very expensive. Two, it was very inconveniencing, seeing them wake up at 5:30, have to go to bed at 8:30 so they can wake up early. They were doing 15-hour days. And seeing them lose passion and interest in things they love to do. They loved to do computer things, they loved gaming, they loved to do science experiments when they were young. They lost the passion for that. And so literally, when I just investigated the space between it being expensive and what value it was offering, I felt there was need for a third solution. African curriculums are not ready for the knowledge economy. They do not have technology well integrated into the curriculum. Basically, this means that our children cannot be competitive globally. So the question becomes, how do we make African children competitive with a child sitting in Hong Kong and a child sitting in San Francisco? The only way we can do that is by matching the quality of education to those places. Now, with technology, we can democratize how learning is done. We can be able to make it more affordable, more convenient. But at the same time, we can be able to borrow from countries like Finland, Singapore, China, the US, and pick some of the best of what they have and the best of what we have and provide this to our children, essentially making them competitive. Does Africa need Kidato? Africa needs to disrupt its education system. We have some offline classes just to support the online classes as well, and some facilities for some of our teachers who may want to come and work from here so that they feel like part of a community. There's some offices they can come and teach from over here. It's also good for a startup in terms of building culture, setting standards, and such kind of things. We are not just educating these children, we're exposing them to the world they live in, automatically by removing the geographical boundaries that restrict learning into a brick and mortar space. And this is really, really powerful because then the world is not such a big mystery to these children anymore. It's a place that they would love to visit and see and are curious enough to Google where Cape Town is, where Lagos is, what Paris is. And that's a beautiful thing as a natural outcome from the education platform. So we're excited about the mission, all of us. We're excited about building a product that we can literally see the changes in people's lives. We can see a child who couldn't read starting to read. We can see a child who's starting to read now, writing his own books. You can see a child who wasn't confident, extremely confident, and it's an extremely mission-driven startup. So yes, Africa does need to leapfrog its current education, just the same way we leapfrogged landlines and moved to mobile phones. Just the same way we leapfrogged credit cards to mobile payments, Africa needs to rethink its education infrastructure and leapfrog what currently exists straight to what is possible in the context of the world that we live in. which includes, of course, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and all the other amazing things like robotics and, things like that. A startup is not limited to their geographical region. If you start a startup targeting users in Uganda and suddenly you see users in Ukraine, then that's your market. That makes you global, doesn't it? And so if you see users from Latin America, LATAM, then you expand and to offer them services based on what they're asking for. So as you think about building a product as a founder, my belief is that first validate your assumption, get a product market fit, whichever it comes from, whether it's where the HQ is or in a completely different market across the world, and then expand to the market that has the most demand for your product. Then from there, keep on expanding. So you don't necessarily have to start thinking globally. Just start thinking, who needs my product, and test your assumptions from it. There are three things that drive what we are doing. One is the availability of internet access. Two, availability of power. And three, the availability of gadgets on the foundational level. So far in Kenya, we do not have a power problem. Not like some of the other markets may be a bit of a challenge, but Kenya's electric grid is pretty stable. We do not have an internet challenge in Kenya. With Safaricom, there is rarely any complaint from parents about slow internet speeds. Now, the gadgets could be a bit of a challenge. What we do at Kidato is that as soon as you enroll at Kidato with your child or more than one child, we provide you with a free laptop. So as Kidato, we've taken care of the gadgets problem. We give every single parent a free laptop for every child who joins Kidato that they can use to access. So we've catered for that. Those are the three things that are very important, foundational for an online school. I am actually on the process of looking for any big hardware manufacturer who's willing to partner with us to pre-package content in bundles for these remote areas. It will be interesting to have tablets for students across Africa that have content that students can read, and the content shouldn't probably just come from Kidato. It can come from teasers or ULesson or from all these other edtech companies, so we can give children options, combine bundle app content for children across the continent. That would really be helpful. It's one of the most impactful things that the big hardware sellers in Africa can have, partnering with local startups, either in the edtech space or even in the healthcare space, to provide content that is relevant within those areas. AWS has been one of our biggest supporters through Y Combinator. AWS gave us over $200,000 worth of AWS credits. This is really powerful when you're starting a startup. You don't have to worry about your cost for infrastructure. And I believe that companies like AWS have real impact locally in supporting local startups with providing those cloud credits. Facebook would really do a good job, and Google to provide Google ads. And I know Google has been reaching out quite a number of times. So I'm sure there's a lot more they can do over and above providing free products. And they can offer more training. They can do a lot more hackathons. They can offer real events where they connect startups with investors because they have the muscle to pull in investors. They can provide broader exposure for stories locally that are really impactful, that are using some of their technologies or local tech within their platforms. I believe there's a lot they can do. And I'm grateful to companies like AWS and Google and Alibaba that have actually had a chance to work with directly. Let's say that the value of big tech is massive. The number of jobs created, kind of technology being brought into the country, the kind of skills and knowledge transfer happening, the kind of validation startup ecosystem and founders are getting because of the fact that big tech is settling and putting the HQ in Nairobi, which basically shows that there is a big market potential for technology within this country. And it's a strong signal to both investors and other markets that we can buy high quality products from Nairobi, because these big companies have chosen Nairobi as their base. So there's a lot of value that big tech is bringing within the space. And it's my hope that as well we see more Nokias and VOA and all these other big companies, more importantly open manufacturing plants, not just sell, but produce the goods locally. That would be really powerful for the ecosystem. Africa is the next frontier. We have 1.2 billion people. We have a lot of space. They have already seen the impact of things like mobile phones, mobile money, They have seen the mushrooming of startups, Flutterwave, Paystack, Kidato. We put ourselves out there. They have seen the impact of launching their products in Africa, Uber, Netflix. And so we will see a lot more big techs coming, both to access human capital. Again, we are one of the youngest continents in the world. Access markets, new markets for their products, and potentially do R&D for other products that could be more localized here. So I believe they're not here for philanthropic reasons. They're here to make more money, and which is admirable that this continent has gotten to a point of attracting such big names to set up base here. So the question at Challenge Africans is, are you ready? Are we educating our children well enough so that they can take advantage of the opportunities that big tech bring over? Our education system has to change to ensure that the positions of software engineers in AI, VR, robotics, they're the ones taking up those positions to build some of those solutions for Africa and not having to import that kind of labor from abroad. So for us to be ready for this big tech and this big tech movement, we definitely have to invest more in education for the next generation of people. Well, personally, I hope I live long enough to see the graduates of Kidato school in different sectors around Africa. I hope I see a Liberian minister who was a Kidato student. I see a corporate CEO from Cameroon who was a Kidato student. I see a president of Togo or some North African country who was a Kidato student. That would give me a lot of joy to see that we brought up and invested in children who became African leaders who moved this continent to the next level. That would be my biggest joy as Sam. But generally, our biggest success will be when we look and see people who are running institutions, governments, doing charity work that went through the Kidato education system, got our ethos. We brought up ethical young men and women who will change the future of this continent. That is my dream for Kidato.
Emerging technology is allowing Africa to leapfrog maybe what has happened in other parts of the world. Emerging technologies are supporting Africa to create unique solutions for its own unique problems. And emerging technologies, I think, are giving Africa founders a chance to create solutions that can be consumed born in Africa, but consumed beyond Africa.